You know, when you think about it, it's kinda crazy that some people thought the Nintendo Switch would fail. Me, personally, I always thought it was gonna be a hit specifically because the Nintendo Switch can be taken portable. And judging by the recent Nintendo news, I was right. Hey guys, it's Rob here, and welcome back to the Robo-chan Show, where we cover the latest gaming news, leaks, and rumors from Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo in 2020 and beyond. If you want to be kept up on the latest gaming news, make sure you click that red subscribe button below this video and that notification bell so you know when I upload. And if you're interested, I have a Patreon, which link to that will be in the pinned comment along with my Twitter account. In this video, we are going to talk about some of the latest Nintendo Switch news that includes Nintendo's plans to sell even more Nintendo Switches, Xbox expecting certain Nintendo Switch games to release in 2020, which is kinda weird, and a new Dreams-like game that is releasing on the Nintendo Switch. If you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like, it helps the video get pushed more, and if you want to help me reach my goal of 500 followers on Twitter, follow me at RoboRob93. Without further delay, let's get on to the news. So back when the Nintendo Switch was first announced, the atmosphere around Nintendo was much different than it was today. We just had the Wii U, which was a huge failure and didn't sell as well as Nintendo planned. Back then, the other two companies had vastly better systems out and new ones on the way. So the Nintendo Switch was a console that Nintendo needed to land and make a success, but if you remember, the reception to the Nintendo Switch was initially mixed. There were people who thought that Nintendo going for a less powerful machine was the wrong way. Now me, personally, I thought it was genius. In fact, I made a video talking about how the Nintendo Switch was a brilliant idea. And that video was made a long time ago, so if you ever go back and watch it, it's not as good as these videos at all. Anyways, it seems that new Nintendo Switch sales that have recently hit the Nintendo news mill are proof of that. So if you guys haven't heard yet, the lifetime sales of the Nintendo Switch has hit a mind-blowing 84.59 million units that are shipped worldwide since the launch in 2017. That is a astronomical number in my opinion. This would mean that it outsold the Game Boy Advance, a Nintendo handheld system, and it passed the Xbox 360 in sales as well, and if it keeps going at this pace, I think it's gonna pass the PS4 and maybe even catch up to the Wii, which if it passes the Wii, that's just gonna be even more mind-blowing. The Nintendo Switch just can't be stopped, sales-wise anyways, and Nintendo knows it, with them recently saying that they want to target 25.5 million more by the end of March 2022. But the question then becomes, how will Nintendo get this much by March of 2022? Well, think about it, there are still a lot of Nintendo Switch games that still need to be released. We have The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2, and then we have Metroid Prime 4 and Splatoon 3, and of course the rumored Zelda 35th anniversary games. If that's real, that's definitely going to push a lot of units. And then you have the third-party games and the indie games, and just overall, Nintendo is doing really well with these releases on the Nintendo Switch and making it worth it. Now this could further potentially be helped by the rumored Nintendo Switch Pro. The Nintendo Switch Pro is rumored for a release in 2021, which would most likely mean a holiday release with E3 2021 reveals, hopefully. And also, if the Nintendo Switch Pro is as powerful as people are saying, then we'll probably get a lot of bigger third-party releases on the Nintendo Switch, specifically for the Switch Pro, which will give more reason to buy the Nintendo Switch Pro. And I do have to say, if we do see the Nintendo Switch Pro at E3 2021, it's going to be insane because we might also see Breath of the Wild 2 there as well, which will make for one of the best E3s of all time in my opinion. But this really shows that the Nintendo Switch's portability paired with great exclusives and third-party support along with good marketing was a smart move by Nintendo, and further proves that you don't need a super powerful machine to sell consoles. You need good games and a reason to buy the console. But I think the games part is the most important part because as we've seen with the GameCube, that didn't sell as much as Nintendo wanted as well, and that was a pretty powerful console for the time. Now despite the Nintendo Switch selling so well, Nintendo is warning people that the Nintendo Switch could see a chip shortage, which would end up making shortages for the Nintendo Switch. So make sure you get that Nintendo Switch just in time. Which, speaking of powerful consoles, something weird popped up on my timeline on Twitter. I had to reread the title actually just for it to make sense. So apparently Xbox expected Breath of the Wild 2, Bayonetta 3, Metroid Prime 4, and other Nintendo Switch games to release in 2020. Not even 2021, 2020. Now this comes from an internal document that has appeared which contains Xbox's high profile releases for Q3 and Q4 of 2020, but along with that they also had Microsoft's expectations on notable releases from other companies. I found this really interesting because from time to time you do see people saying that companies really don't care care about what other companies are doing, but here we have Microsoft watching Nintendo and seeing what they're doing. And not even just watching, expecting them to do something. Now that they're pretty buddy-buddy recently with a lot of Xbox games getting on the Nintendo Switch and rumors and speculation about Game Pass on the Nintendo Switch too, and a whole lot of other cool things, it makes sense why Nintendo and Microsoft are close to each other and Xbox is watching Nintendo. And moving on to the next topic, we have a new Nintendo Switch game hitting the Nintendo Switch, which has stirred and piqued some interest among the Nintendo Switch community. So recently Nintendo tweeted out a trailer for Game Building Garage. This game is essentially the Nintendo Switch version of Dreams. Now if you don't know what Dreams is, it's a really cool game released on consoles that sprouted a ton of cool fan-made games. These games range from Sonic games to Avatar The Last Airbender games to Super Mario games, like full-blown Super Mario games on the PS4. They created some crazy games. And it seems that Game Builder Garage seems to do the same thing. Now the cool thing about this is that you can even draw your own assets. You can create your own levels, NPCs, and all that. It's going to be very interesting to see what crazy games people come up with. Because as we've seen with modders on PC, if you give people freedom to make their own things, they will use it to their full advantage. I mean, look what people did to Resident Evil. Giant Barneys in Resident Evil. That's just, it's too fantastic. And that's all I have for you guys. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe to RoboRob Gaming for gaming news, and on your way out, leave a like. Thanks for spending your time here and watching the video, guys, and remember, stay safe, stay charged, and have a good one.